Welcome everybody to the start of a new Let's Play series. We're going to be playing Immortal Realms Vampire Wars. So this is a game that came out in a sort of beta version, like an early access version, over a year ago, maybe a couple years ago actually. And then it released, I think, in August of 2020. So it's been out for a little while in its sort of final state, but I know they have been doing some patching here and there. This is a fantasy strategy game. It plays in the vein of something like Eodor, Masters of a Broken World, where you have sort of like regions and armies and you move around between the regions and sort of do different things in those regions. It also plays a little bit like Warhammer Total War, but with turn-based tactical battles instead of real-time tactical battles. And in this game you only play as one of three vampire factions. You don't play as, there aren't orcs or elves or anything like that. There's just basically just humans and vampires and a few of the sort of dark type of creatures you get in sort of vampire lore, like there's giant bat creatures and there's some undead and wolves and that kind of stuff. So in this game you control a vampire faction, and there's sort of three different flavors to the factions that you can play as. So we'll go ahead in and take a look at those. First, let me just show off that there is a tutorial. There are campaigns, and you can play through the stories of the different factions. So you can see here there's you have to play them to unlock new ones, but there's these different characters that you can play. And I don't really do the campaigns that much. But this is a cool way to sort of have some level of progression in the story. So these are the three factions, and you can see there's different chapters to their campaigns. So there's the Dracul. This is the ancient, original sort of vampire bloodline. They're more like warriors and sort of more standard kind of army. The Nosfernus are your like liches vampires, so they control undead, and they have like different kinds of like necromancers and that kind of stuff, and death and decay magic. And then there's the Moroya, and these are like your they're like your emotional type vampires. Like they are more, they have like a high society, and they use more like mystic and magic and trickery and that kind of stuff, and they're fast and kind of floaty. They have more range units. And then we also have sandboxes, and this is where I spend most of my time when I'm playing this game. In the sandbox mode, we'll just take a look inside here. You have several maps to choose from, and we'll look at that in a moment. First, you pick your faction. So again, the Dracul, direct descendants of the first vampire. The Dracul are the only pure bloodline remaining in the world. They rule over their human subjects with an iron fist, striking fear and terror into their lands. With armies consisting of human thin bloods and powerful beasts, these ferocious warriors will let nothing stand in the way of their bloodthirst. So the Dracul play the most straightforward of the three factions in both the strategic map and the tactical battles. They just have sort of armies with melee and ranged troops, and then a few support type units, and then on the strategic map they move around, capture territory, and sort of tax the local populace. Not exactly the way you're thinking. The Nosfernus and the Moroya have some aspects to them that make them play a little differently on the strategic map and in the tactical battles, which we'll look at a little bit. So the next clan we have is Nosfernus. Where the Nosfernus work, death will follow. The Nosfernus are an ancient and corrupt bloodline, and the few vampires that remain of it live in the dark ruins of long-lost strongholds or lurking in the depths of forsaken cemeteries. They have an unnatural ability to raise and command the dead, and they do not care for human settlements or titles, only power and blood. And then the Moroya shatter their minds and steal their souls. The power of the Moroya is legendary. Their mystical clan has lived in solitude for centuries, devoting themselves to the study of magic and blood alchemy. They hide their true nature behind a mask of beauty, but do not be charmed by it. They possess an unmatched level of magical might. Together with their ambition and cunning, this makes them a force to be reckoned with. So I think my favorite faction to play is definitely the Nosfernus, but I'm going to play the Dracul because they're, like I said, they're the most sort of straightforward. So we'll go ahead and hit next. So you can see our starting lord is Vlad Dracul. Draw a free card after every victorious battle, because there are cards, and I'll explain that in a moment. And you have +1 maximum populations from village and cities, so we can stuff more human subjects into our places we control to get extra blood from them over time. And then we have Insatiable Hunger. Vlad is the true and rightful heir of Warmont and the Primarch of the Dracul clan. He can use the innate power of his blood to perform supernatural feats or dominate lesser beings. He gets the insatiable hunger keyword, has a 40% chance to lifesteal 50% of attack damage. He gains extra attack, extra health, extra armor, and he can use spells from the aspect of blood. So this is a big brute of a melee combatant who can hold his own for a while because he can lifesteal, and he's got good attack and good survivability. The other faction lords are a little bit squishier. For instance, the Moroya faction leader is actually a range unit, but she has like a range of 5, so it's pretty good on the tactical battles. So in this game, as you're seeing here, there are actually cards. So there are both cards you use in combat that cost mana. You can see here this one costs 9 mana in the upper left corner. And there are cards you use in the strategic map, on the world map, and those cost blood. And we'll look at those when we get into the game. So you can see here in combat, he will have a variety of these cards that he can cast, and you can see, so let's look at one for an example. So here's Lifesteal. It costs 5 mana. It's a combat card. It has a range of 10. You can see on the right side the 10. And it has a cooldown of 3, so we can't just spam this over and over. We have to wait for it to cool down. Target allied unit gains Lifesteal 50% for 2 turns. So you can put this on one of your units that's missing some health, and they can go into battle and sort of heal themselves up by attacking. So you can use mana from your lords to sort of impact how the combat goes. So that's kind of how the cards work. So we'll move on now to map selection. So here there's a variety of maps we can choose. Warmont is sort of the vanilla map for this game, but there are some other maps you can play if you want to get a slightly different experience. I haven't played these ones enough to sort of really understand what the differences are, so we'll just go with Warmont for this particular game. And then we have win condition. So we can choose how we want the game to come to an end. We can either gather 1,000 total blood before turn 160, which is pretty late. We can do conquest, where we claim all the keeps on the map to win, or we can do ascendancy, where we reach clan level 20 to win. This is essentially your economy victory, your conquest victory, and your research victory, in a sense. This one is, I don't like to do this one. Claiming all the keeps on the entire map is a little bit of a slog, unfortunately. The map is big, and there's a lot of, while there are a lot of choke points, there's also a lot of avenues in and out of the different areas. So it can be kind of hard to play whack-a-mole with the factions, you know, as you stomp their armies down and then go find where they've rebuilt it and then repeat. So I'm probably going to keep it on just the blood one, so that conquest will give us more blood, but we don't have to kill everyone on the map. So we'll go ahead and hit next. Here we have some basic settings we can change. I'm just going to leave these all on the normal AI advantage, blood gain, blood cost, and experience gain. We'll just leave these on default. So we'll go ahead and hit start game. Okay, so our starting clan cards. Your clan's history and inherent power provides you with these cards. So we'll have these cards to cast on the strategic map from the start of the game. So we have Recruit Dracul. So this costs 1 blood, but it allows us to spend less blood on the unit we're recruiting. So I tend to save this card for units that are either costly, or if I don't have anyone nearby to recruit the units and I want to just pop a unit out really quickly. We have Sacrifice, a 0-cost action that gains 15 blood points, which is our main currency. And we have Forced Migration. Target village or city gains 2 population. So that way we can increase the population of our areas we control, and then there's more humans there to either give us blood over time, or we can sacrifice them for different things, which I'll show you in a little bit. So hit continue. We get starting quests. So quests provide powerful rewards and bonus experience. So this quest is Gather Blood. Gather blood to improve your economy. We need to gather 50 blood in 2 turns for 30 experience. This is pretty challenging, but we might be able to do it with that sacrifice card gives us 15, so that's a good boost to that. And then we have starting cards for our hand, so I can select 3 additional cards. So we have Fortune Teller, trigger a draw phase with 5 cards, choose 2 of them to keep. I'm not going to get this one. It's very costly, and my starting hand is pretty controlled. Later on, this might be a good choice if I have a bunch of weird cards in my hand. Blood preparations reduce the cost of the next action card to 0. So if I wanted to cast something expensive like one of these, then I could make it free. And we have Town Portal. Target Lord travels with army to closest owned keep. That could be useful if you need to defend. Sabotage disables all interaction on target building until repaired. So we could target somebody's city and stop them from recruiting units by destroying their barracks or something like that. And then construction, play on building to upgrade it for 25% less cost. So here I'm probably going to grab this one, and see, these are not very helpful right now. I haven't met anybody. I don't need to teleport, so I guess we'll just take this one. Okay, so now we're on the map. So let's talk about the map for a second. You can see there are these lines that separate out the little provinces from each other. This is Dracul Keep, so this is my area here, and I also own this village. Up here you can see the mini-map, and you can see that there's all these different little provinces, and they're just sort of grayish color because they're uncontrolled, and I'm this red color. So if we can zoom out a little ways, we can see there's like a fog of war where we don't know what's there exactly yet, although the map is not randomly generated, and so we can actually zoom this mini-map out a little bit. This is really cool. I wish more games had this. I mean, look how incredibly helpful this is. You don't have to go into the main map. You can keep your strategic map open here while looking at a bigger version of the mini-map to get some more information. Very, very handy feature. And then we have the full screen map, which is this eye up here. So if we click this, we can see the whole map and kind of zoom in and look around. And you've got a little legend up here for enemy armies, allied armies, my player armies. And then we can actually toggle the mode. So now we have building mode. So we can see here's a keep, here's a village, we have a manor here, we have a library, and we have a cave. And all of these buildings, you know, each region is going to have something in it. Actually, sometimes there's ones with nothing in them. But most regions have some kind of structure in them. And these all do all sorts of cool stuff. Some you can recruit lords, some you can recruit units, some you can get artifacts and items, or villages to conquer for more people, or like there's like the wishing stone where you can wish for certain things, prisons where you can find cool weird units that are being held inside there, portals that let you travel across the map. Really, really cool stuff. And one of the really neat things is, say this cave over here, I can go here and recruit units, available units. You can see if I sent a lord here, spent actions, I can actually recruit bat swarms, dire bats, and vampire bats, depending on the level of the cave, which I can upgrade. If I was a different faction, there would be different units available in here. If I was playing as Nosfernus, this cave would, I think that it has like zombies and stuff in it, not these bat units, which is really cool. So I can actually recruit different units than I could just get from my keep by going to these sorts of other locations. But if I was a different faction, there'd be just a big, completely different roster of units that I can use, which is really, really cool. So in order to capture provinces, all you have to do is move an army to that location and you'll take it over. For the most part, it doesn't matter if you control the provinces, like say the ones with the libraries or the caves, other than the fact that now you have vision. But some places you do want to control, such as villages. Villages, we can click on it here, it shows that as a population of 2 out of 3. So this can hold 3 population worth of villages. It grows once per year, and the turns we do are actually seasons, so we have 4 turns per year. So after 4 turns, this would grow to 3 people. And we get 1 blood per turn from the people in this village. So after a year, we would pop up to 3 population and be making 3 blood per turn. And we need blood per turn because right now we're making 0. We're getting 7, base income of 5. We're getting 2 from our provinces, which is right here. And we have an upkeep of 7. Our army units upkeep is 5, and our lord upkeep is 2. So in order to pay for your armies, you need to tax the population of their blood. We also need blood to cast these action cards. You can see in the top left, that's the blood cost. So we definitely want a positive blood income. And so these villages are very important to capture because they provide you with blood over time. Villages contain population. Each population provides 1 blood and income per turn. By default, population grows by 1 per year. And we have things like this force march to force a village or city to grow. We're not going to use it on this one because it only needs 1 population, but if we capture a city or a village somewhere that's low on population, we can force people into it really quickly, and then our blood per turn will jump up. So we pay an upfront cost, but over time we get a lot more out of that. We also have a clan research level, which we saw that ascendancy victory was related to. That's up here at the clan level page. So we click this and we actually have sort of like a tech tree. So we start down here and we can click through things to learn different buffs and things for our faction. So if you see, like, I think we start with, no, we don't have any points yet. We're level 1, which means we start level 1 with no points. So you can see we can learn stuff like each point spent will give Lord attack by 10, Lord's attack by 5. So this will just make your Lords better fighters. But then we can move on to all sorts of really cool stuff like each spent point will give increased Lord's health by 15, or down here, increase passive blood income by 2. So if you want powerful lords, you start going down some of these tech trees like this, and if you want sort of big armies, then you might go down this way and have more and more blood income. There's some really cool stuff at the end that makes these factions very distinct. The Nosfernis get to the point where they can drain blood from a village, get a ton of blood, and actually gain an action point from doing that. So they not only does it not cost them actions to do that, but they get action points by draining blood from villages, which is really cool. So you can see here we have things like reducing the cost of our cards that we play by 50%. That could be really powerful. So now we're going to take a look at our armies. So we start with one army with our lord. So we click on it here. You can see these lines are showing which places we could move to if we wanted to. This army has 3 action points. You can see this horse here. That sort of means how many movement points they have, or action points. Moving to a spot would take 1. Using an action typically takes 1. And starting a fight would take 1, but that's also by moving into an enemy's spot. So let's take a look at our units. So we have Vlad Dracul. Vlad has 80 attack, which is very high. 35 armor is pretty high. And 175 health. So he's an absolute tank of a unit. And you can see the boots at the bottom there, that's his movement. So he can actually move pretty quickly on the map as well in the tactical battles. And we have here some basic infantry. So we have our Thin Blood Spearmen. These are just humans, basically, that we've just forced into our armies. They're just levies. So these units have 35 attack, 45 armor is pretty darn good, and 140 health is pretty good. These are tank units. So they don't do a ton of damage, but they do survive pretty well for early game units. And they have Sundering, so they attack. When they attack, they reduce the enemy's armor by 8, and they have Guard, which is an ability they can do to increase their armor. So these are definitely tanks. They get in the front, disrupt the enemy's front line, and then try to stay alive. We have Thin Blood Archers. These are just our levy human archers. Lower armor, lower health, lower speed than Vlad. Vlad's a kind of a bit of a juggernaut there, running around the battlefield, destroying everything. And these Thin Blood Archers have a range 5 attack, and they have an aim shot where they can perform a range attack with increased range. So these are our tier 1 troops we started with. You can see we can dismiss them down here. And they have these little icons that help you know what they do. So we've got a tank, an archer, and a fighter over here. Now these are our really cool units we start with. This is a tier 3 unit. We want to be very careful not to lose these Dracul warriors, because we won't be replacing them for a while. We have to get pretty far in the tech tree to research the building that lets us build tier 3 infantry. So this unit, 75 attack, very high. 45 armor, 160 health. You can see these are actually comparable to our Lord. They're so powerful. And they have a bunch of different keywords. They lifesteal for a little bit. They inspire allied units that are adjacent with more attack. And they have a shockwave ability that damages all units in a line. So these are very, very cool. They're fighters, but they're also just as tanky as these units here. And they do lots of damage, and they can help keep themselves alive. But you can see up in the top left, 40 blood. These units would cost 40 blood to recruit. Even if I could do that now, it would be probably a bad decision. These ones are only 8 by comparison as tier 1 units. So this action we have here that lets us recruit something for 25% less, you can see how valuable this would be when you're recruiting something expensive like these tier 3s. In order to recruit units, you have to be in a location that allows for recruitment. A village, for instance, does not. A manor will allow you to recruit lords so that you can lead more troops, and then your keep will allow you to recruit your sort of faction armies, like your base military, and then you can go to other locations to supplement that with these sort of auxiliary units, these weirder units, right? So here we can go to our keep, we click on the army, and we have here the recruit option, and this costs 1 action point upon completion. So if I click here to look at these and then don't build anything, I don't lose the action point. So you can see here I can't build these half-bloods or these riders because or these warriors because they're tier 2 and 3 respectively, and I don't have the construction to do that. I can build spearmen or archers from here, and it would cost me 1 action and 8 blood. So I'll go ahead and grab a unit of archers now because I have 3 melee units in my army already and just the 1 range. So we'll go ahead and grab one of these units of archers. So now we've used one of our 3 action points, but we have another unit. So we can actually drag these around, which I really appreciate that you can do that. The other options we have up here are split. If we wanted to split our armies into 2 pieces, that would cost us an action point. We're not going to do that. And we have construction. So we can click this, and then the province we're in, if there's available constructions, we can do that. So you can see we can do order signed in blood, gives +1 action point to an army starting their turn at this keep. That would cost us 10 blood. We have the elite troops to unlock tier 2 units, and the champions to unlock tier 3 units. But you can see we can't actually build these yet because we haven't researched that ability in our clan tree. So I think I might go ahead and grab this one this turn, and I'll just spend my turn here doing 1 more action. Maybe I'll recruit 1 more unit, and then when we start our turn here next turn, we'll have we'll have an extra action point to move on. So we'll go ahead and construct this. You can see it actually changed the building, which is really cool. And then we'll go ahead and spend our last action on recruiting a thin blood spearman. There we go. We'll go ahead and put them over here so they're all together. So we've spent a lot of our blood. We're at a -2 per turn now, so we do need to figure out how we're going to get more blood. So what we're probably going to do is head out and start exploring and see if we can find a village to conquer, because we're going to want to start getting more blood soon. We're also going to start looking for some of the other factions that have spawned around here, because we want to start killing them off and getting experience that we can spend our clan levels and get stronger. I do want to get more blood income. I do want to make my units stronger, and ultimately I want to be able to recruit tier 2 units. You won't be able to build them right away, you'll just unlock the ability to, so I'll still have to go back to the keep and upgrade the tier 2 building. Similarly, if I wanted the tier 2 units from the cave, I'd actually have to come here, and I believe I have to upgrade it in order to do that. We also have over here our army cards. So we have 1 army right now, led by our faction leader Vlad Dracul. His army is costing 7 upkeep for this particular army. Its relative threat level is 82, so if you find an enemy army and they have a different number of units than you, you might think that they're stronger or weaker than you, but that may not be the case depending on the quality of the units, so you can check this number out to get a rough estimate of how strong they are. Obviously numbers and positioning and that kind of stuff counts quite a bit, but this is a good, helpful hint. So if you see an army coming at you with 115 power at this level in the game, you might think about backing up and grabbing another unit before you go back in. We can have 4 more units in this army. You can see it's at 5 of 9. I have 4 slots remaining. This is how many action points I have, is 0 right now. And I have 30 mana on my lord because I haven't used any mana. So in combat, those cards that he had here, these are the things I'll be able to cast in combat. A lot of them are buffs, but he also has this Bloodstorm ability, which is really cool, to damage your own lord and enemy units that are adjacent to him. So you run him in, cause a Bloodstorm, and then he can kind of lifesteal back up. And then mana replenishes slowly per turn, and there's some other ways to get mana. Depending on your faction, you might have some cards that help you with that, or some artifacts or something like that. And then you can see your keywords over here on this tab. And here we can see Vlad's items. He doesn't have a helmet, chest piece, weapon, or there's 2 ring slots, and he has no items yet. We may be able to find some later from, say, like a wishing well or a merchant of some kind or something like that. And that's about everything there is to talk about in order to get set up with the game. So thank you everybody for joining me for this episode 0. Please join me in the next one. It'll be our episode 1 where we'll actually start playing the game, and we'll go from there. This will probably not be a full series unless you guys really want to see more. This game takes quite a while to finish, as you can see by the size of the map. It's not small. We'll play a little bit and we'll see how it goes. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in episode 1.